At the Olympic break, two Montreal Canadiens are on pace to be close to or break franchise records. We'll talk about whether or not they can pull that off in the last 25 games today on Locked On Canadiens.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, for subscribing for wherever you get your podcast, doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you don't miss an episode, and for making us the number one sports podcast network here at Locked On. We are your team every day. We do love saying all that. And congratulations on making it to the end of a week. Can we just say that? It feels like this has been a long week. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as that Maybe It's Ian, and I'm joined as I always am by Laura Saba, also known as the actress Tick. Laura, we are taking our first step into the next 3 weeks without Montreal Canadiens hockey. Thankfully, we have our lovely listeners in the mailbag ready to go. We've got some fun stuff planned, not only for today, but throughout the break as well. Laura, how are we feeling today?
It's good. I'm happy it's Friday. I'm so excited for the Olympics. It's one of my favorite things ever. We will obviously be covering the hockey during the Olympic break, but we also have some really fun guests and stuff planned. So make sure you're still subscribed and still listening to us because we will be here for you every day.
Every day. All right. Look, we've got a lot going on today. I want to talk about the pace that a lot of these guys are on. And with 25 games left, what's a reasonable expectation for parts of the core of this roster? And then we'll jump into the mailbag. There's lots of questions about upcoming rivalries, current rivalries, certain players we may or may want, freeing up cap space, that sort of stuff. It's that time of the year, right? We're talking about cap space and trying to add to this roster. And I'm sure that's only going to amplify over the next couple weeks. But let's start with something that I did, I think, midway through the year. Talking about the pace that not only the players are on, but that the team is on, and trying to get an understanding of whether or not it's accept or understandable or expected that these guys will hit that current pace, or if maybe they'll fall behind, or if we think that there's a chance that they can blow by that. Let's start with the team as a whole.
I just want to say one thing.
Sure. Go ahead.
Just one thing. It has been a very long time. In fact, I can't actually remember a time when I've been this excited about so many Montreal Canadiens. It has been a long time since it wasn't just, Carey Price, occasionally PK Subban, like the top whatever's in the league. Like I have not felt this before. The Canadiens have so many players that are, doing incredible things. It's just such a good time to be a Habs fan. So when we're upset or annoyed about a call that came against the Habs and they lost the game against Minnesota or whatever, and we're mad when they didn't try enough against Buffalo or whatever, we kind of have to remember the other aspect of it too. This is the first time in a very long time, and for a lot of Montreal Canadiens, this is the first time ever, a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans, this is the first time ever that we have a team where so many elements of it are just so good. Like they're among the top 1, 2, 5, 10 of the league.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, you mentioned the Carey Price years, right? The Molson Cup every year or every month is the top player of the month, and it was the Carey Price trophy. And if somebody else won it, it's because either Carey Price was hurt or some act of God happened. I mentioned that because a listener and friend of ours, Gildrak on Blue Sky, posted that after Gallagher's last game, he's locked it up for February because there's only a couple games left, and he is already a point per game in February, I think. Like it's really funny to think of it through that lens. But yes, there's a lot of really good things happening for the Canadiens right now. And that's sort of where I want to lean. We'll start with not even a player, the team. Team wins. They're currently at 32 wins, which hilariously is good for the second best season in their last 7 seasons.
Wow.
The only season that was better in the last 7 years was last year. Every other year, they've had fewer than 32 wins. They've got 25 left. They're gonna, I feel pretty strongly that they're not gonna, they're gonna win more than 8 games in the remaining 25. So I think that's, we're going to pass what we saw last year. But they're on pace for 46 wins, which is the most since 16-17, where they had 47. So it's close. Do you think 46 is a number that they can achieve, given that we know they play in a really tough division and they have one of the top 10 remaining most difficult schedules in the National Hockey League? Do you think they can hit that? That would be another, this is math, 14 wins.
I think they can do it. 14 out of 25. I think
Yeah.
they can do it. It's not going to be easy, but this Montreal Canadiens team I believe in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's possible. I really love the idea of 50 wins as a stretch goal, right? To get there. But that would mean winning 18 out of the remaining 25. You're only losing 7 games the rest of the way. That's a real challenge. But I think like if you're Marty St. Louis, like you're obviously trying to just get them to play the game at hand. You're not worrying about that. But I think these guys see these numbers, and being a 50-win team is, I don't know, that's impressive.
Big deal.
It's a big deal for where this team is at. So I personally would love to see that. Let's move on. Nick Suzuki, currently at 65 points. He's on pace for 93, which would be a career high. Last year, he topped out at 89, so a 90-point player for the Montreal Canadiens. That's really impressive too. I have a hard time thinking he's going to play 7 points above that pace for the rest of the year. So I don't know if 100 points is on the table this year, but still, like 93 points for a guy who's entering the Olympic break, top 10 in scoring. It's not a break for him. He's going to go over to Milan and play. And with some of the injuries, he might find himself in a pretty potent offensive role. Who knows? We have to wait to see what those lines are. What do you make of Suzuki's season so far?
I think it's been incredible. And I think he talked about how, when he wasn't picked for the Four Nations, it really lit a fire under his butt, and he really wanted to make sure that he was, he was part of the conversation. But I think the the Olympics are going to be great for him because he's going to be able to play on a team with the best players in Canada, which, among the best players in Canada, there are so many of them that are literally just the best players in the world, right? Like the top 3 players in the world belong to Canada. So I do think that, being able to play with his idols, but also like being counted among those peers, like he's going to pick some things up and come back, right? Playing with John Cooper, who's playing for John Cooper, who's an extremely experienced coach, even though he makes a lot of decisions I don't agree with, right? There's going to be a lot that he's going to be able to bring back. And so I think that it is entirely fair to expect him to go between 90 and 95 points this year.
Yeah. No, I think he's in that range. Let's move on quickly because we've got a couple more here I want to cover before we move on. Caufield, goals. He's at 32. He's on pace for 46. Will be the first 40 goal scorer for the Canadiens in forever. Is 50 achievable for him?
I'm not going to say yes, but I think he can definitely pass 45.
Yeah, I think that's I think honestly, pace when it comes to goal scoring is kind of odd because goal scoring is streaky just by the nature of it.
And he is too. He's particularly streaky. He scores in bunches.
Right? Like when we talked about what's the Canadiens' record when he doesn't score, well, they just added 2 more points, so they're at 37 points when Caufield doesn't score a goal. But like it's I think actually it might be 38 because they got a point in the Minnesota game, and I don't remember him scoring there.
He scored a goal. No, I was annoyed because Billy Guerin was watching and he didn't.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's possible that, I think pace doesn't really matter to him all that much. Let's move on. The 2 that have a chance to break some records here this year. Lane Hutson assists. He's at 48. He's on pace for 69 very nice assists, which would be a franchise record for defenseman assists. That's currently at 66. So he's on pace to clear it by 3 points. I mean, that seems like it's like the most likely of these things to happen, right? That he's going to have that record for himself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing with Lane Hutson. If it doesn't happen this year, it's going to happen next year or the year after.
Yeah.
He's going to get to 70 points. I'm sure. 70 assists. Sorry. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's on pace for 83 points. He's 83 points, I believe. He's just over a point per game. The last one I want to talk about here, Ivan Demidov points. He's got 46. He's on pace for 66, which is 5 off of the franchise rookie lead for points in a season, behind Shell Dahlin and Mats Naslund, each having 71. Can he play 5 points above that pace? Can he have that?
I don't know. It depends on his usage, and it also depends on what they do when Cole Caufield comes back. We do have to remember that he's on this pace with, I want to say, was it 20 or something like that games without Slafkovsky on his line?
Yeah, it's true.
So you can make up that ground. Like if like you got to look at his pace since Slafkovsky joined that line, and then I think we can have a more accurate kind of read on that.
Yeah, I think the one thing working in his favor is that Slafkovsky is going to come back from the Olympics. And we know that first half Slav isn't a thing anymore. Like, he was really good in the first chunk of the season. But that doesn't necessarily mean that second half Slav isn't a thing. He might still find a way to elevate his game in the last 25 games of the season. I wouldn't put it past him, especially coming home from the Olympics. Maybe he'll be energized by that and recognize that he can be an offensive leader for, he's going to have to be that if Slovakia has any chance in that tournament. That's that coming back to Montreal and being that guy. I think that might put Demidov over that 71 point threshold. So that would be really impressive to see.
I gotta say, even as a Team Canada fan, I am so excited to watch Slafkovsky on Slovakia. Like, I'm so excited for this.
That's the first game of the tournament, Slovakia, Finland. It's going to be really exciting. The two line mates are going against each other.
It's going to be so good.
Slafkovsky, I can't wait. I hope they find fun ways to interact with each other on the ice. Just like, I'm sure Slafkovsky's going to try to rough him up at some point. It should be pretty fun.
So fun.
All right. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree with these paces, what they're currently going for. And if you think there's guys who might be playing a little bit under what their pace ought to be. With that said, we're going to leave that there. When we come back, we'll hit the mailbag. We've got a lot of questions from your listeners, including some potential upcoming rivals that we haven't predicted yet. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Canadiens, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts, you can get it. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server is also included, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. I'm on Discord. I'm teaching Laura how to do it, so come hang out there. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Laura, let's hit the mailbag. We have a lot of questions from our friends here. Let's start with someone we hear from a lot, Jacques Face Punch, who asked a couple questions about rivals here. Would you rather watch traditional rivals fall off and become jokes like the Leafs, or would you rather they stay competitive with the Habs, gradually overtaking them? So I'm gonna speak for myself. I want to watch all these guys fall off a cliff. Like, I love watching the Leafs just peter out into nothing and think they're getting a first-round pick for Bobby McMahon. It's really funny. I love watching what's happening to the Rangers. I love it so much. They're not really a rival, but they have burned the Canadiens so much where I love it. I love watching them get what they deserve. Is that how you feel as well, or do you like seeing the Canadiens overcome them?
It depends on the team and the fan base, to be honest. Like, I have no desire to see the Leafs be good ever. I want them to be a laughing stock. And I feel the same way about Ottawa. However, teams like the Bruins, Buffalo, Detroit, I know they're driving me crazy by being good right now. Tampa, Florida even. I want them to be good, and I want the Canadiens to beat them. I find that there's something really delicious about a rivalry like that. But when it comes to teams like Toronto and Ottawa, I have, or the Rangers, like, there's a lot of teams where either you hate the team or you hate the fan base. And I just don't want to see them succeed. So it's really team dependent for me.
Yeah, I agree. The second half of this question, over the next 10 years, who do you see becoming Montreal's main rivals, not just in the standings, but in the traditional violent sense? Would you be sad to see any particular rivalry fizz out, or really excited to see any get really heated? No pun intended, Laura. You mentioned them. Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think there's going to come a time in the near future where this division runs through three teams. It's Montreal, it's Detroit, and it's Buffalo. I think Florida's still going to hang around for a while, but they've played a lot of hockey. They're very banged up. Like, I'm not counting them out by any stretch, but it's tough to imagine.
Yeah.
I really think that Montreal and Buffalo are headed for just years of meeting each other in the playoffs and, just beating the crap out of each other. I really think that's where we're headed. And these are close games. Like, this year they were close games.
And I don't hate it, to be honest. I don't.
No,
I really
cool.
don't. It's just, for me, I don't like when it gets really out of hand. The narratives start getting constructed and things like that. I just like hard fought games, beating the crap out of each other, like, circling that team on the calendar. Like, that's what I like, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like in the recent years, Ottawa has just derailed. Toronto has always been like that, and I think it's largely because of the fan base. And with the Bruins Montreal, like, it's getting back. But there was a long while where the media would cook up reasons for us not to enjoy the rivalry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another question here, and it's also doubling as a shout out for a listener of the show. Bruce writes in, "Hello to Laura and Ian, big fan. My birthday is Friday on Fan Mail Day, and like many people, I have my favorite birthday activities, which include a steak dinner out, and then drag queen karaoke. There's a popular drag queen here in Ottawa who hosts karaoke nights. Who among the current Habs roster would be joining me? First of all, happy birthday, Bruce. We hope
Happy
it's a
birthday.
good one. I'm glad that you thought to spend your birthday in a way with us. So thank you. I'm honored that you would do that. For me, the answer is easy. Cole Caufield thinks he can sing and he cannot. So I'm putting Cole Caufield in. He is joining you up there. He's going to do an awful job, but the crowd's going to love it. And that's really what karaoke is about.
Yeah. I have a dark horse selection, and it's Jake Evans. Don't ask me why. I feel like, Slafkovsky would like go ham. He would really enjoy it. He'd put on a show, right? But Jake Evans just seems to me to be like very serious. And I feel like that's the kind of thing where you're like, oh, I didn't know you had it in you. But I know 100% that Caden Gooley and Kirby Doc will be sitting right next to each other, making fun of him the whole time.
Making fun of everybody.
Yeah.
I bet Arbor would let it belt. I do. I think he would have a good time. I wonder like how often this has actually happened. The fact that there's no footage of it leads me to believe that it hasn't happened all that often, because someone would pick it up. Someone would send out a video of one of these guys singing karaoke, and it would be the end of it.
Absolutely.
All right. Where are we headed to next, Laura?
Okay, we've got a few questions that are all about Patrick Laine. So Super Rain, and then we've got, I think it's our dog on Instagram. It's D Rod, not our dog. And then we got someone as well on Blue Sky. Everybody asking, is Laine healthy? Is he going to be in the lineup? Are the Habs going to trade him?
It's right now. It's like Schrodinger's Laine. Like we just don't really. If you don't see him, does he exist? Like, it's just sort of. It's a really unfortunate spot. He should talk to the Canadiens defensive coach and assistant coach and Stefan Robidas, because I think he's on the island that Robidas was named after. Yeah. I really do think that the Canadiens will say they haven't cleared him medically. He's been practicing though in a contact sweater for a while now, so I don't know what. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend to sit here and say like, oh, he should have been cleared medically, but it's odd. It's odd that this has happened. I don't know. There have been some, it hasn't been enough to like grace with a rumor roundup, which I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot of use out of that hat over the next coming weeks. Yeah. I genuinely could not tell you what my prediction would be on where Patrick Laine is headed. Because could they trade him? Yeah, it's going to be complicated to do it. I don't know why another team would do it. Like it would have to be a sweetener. Does it matter that much to the Canadiens to make that happen? Like, I just don't know.
So I have a follow-up question, which you might not like because it is about that. And this comes from Plastic War Dollies on Blue Sky. If we could shift the money from Laine, so magically the cap comes off the books, what is the best target out there we could spend it on?
I don't know that there is one. I know it's a wet blanket of an answer, but I would not be in a rush to spend that money. There's not, like, this year's free agent crop is just okay. Like, there's not a ton. A certain player we're about to watch in the Olympics, wears the number 97, is going to be a free agent in 2 years. When the Canadiens will have a ton of money. They have virtually nothing committed outside of their core players 2 years from now. Nick Suzuki better get ready to tamper his butt off. Like tamper all over the place, dude. All these guys, you should just be telling them how sick it is to play in Montreal.
Yeah. I think that's fair because it's not really tampering. It's just I enjoy life. So listeners, you tell me, right? So when this came up the other day, I said it was a pipe dream, and Ian thinks it could happen if the Montreal Canadiens get good enough to win a cup in the next 2 years, and the Edmonton Oilers just flame out.
They don't even have to win a cup. I
No,
don't
good
think
enough
anyway.
to. Good enough.
Good enough to. That's
good enough to.
That is what you said. I should have taken that at face value. You're right.
Genuine
that's
cup contenders. I can't stop looking at the Cruella streak that my ring light is causing in my hair. Genuine cup contenders. If the Canadiens become genuine cup contenders and the Oilers fail 2 years in a row, do you think this is a possibility? I say no. Ian says there's a possibility. So listeners, you wait.
Why not?
I'm just saying. But Nick Suzuki better be telling all those guys on Team Canada, and Slafkovsky better be telling all those guys on Team Slovakia. And then I don't know if there's anyone in France that we want, but
yeah,
I'm counting.
We do. His name's Alex Texier. I would love him to play for Montreal right now.
And then Oliver Kapanen in Finland, right? In Team Finland. Like those guys better be blowing up the locker rooms with Tales of Montreal. I know we have to move on.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave that there. When we come back, we have more questions from guys like you, from listeners like you. And one of them being, do we want Brandon Carlo or Morgan Rielly, or maybe neither of them? And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, hopefully I don't have to, but I would go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just resume buzzwords. Sponsored jobs boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right. Welcome back. Laura, where are we headed to next?
We have some fun questions. Actually, let's start with that Carlo question.
It's a crazy question. I really love it.
This one came to us from YouTube. Yeah, it's from Paul G. It was actually for the last mailbag, but we forwarded to this one for the mailbag. Would you trade for Brandon Carlo or Morgan Rielly? They should both be buy low options.
My immediate gut tells me that Morgan Rielly is the better player, but he is not what the Canadiens need. Now, is Brandon Carlo the player the Canadiens need? I think the best version of Brandon Carlo is a guy the Canadiens could use. However, he has not been that player in a very long time. So I begrudgingly say Brandon Carlo, and you hope that you don't get fleeced on that deal as much as the Leafs got fleeced from the Bruins. The Bruins got Fraser Minton, who is one of the top rookie goal scorers right now, along with a first-round pick, which could be in the top 10 because the Leafs only top 5 protected it. They might be looking to move on from that player, but man, I wonder if the sunk cost fallacy of that is going to keep them being like, we have to recoup all of our losses, and then they don't actually end up getting anything of value for him. That's my opinion. Where do you stand on those guys?
I want to say that I'm just tired of the Toronto Maple Leafs just making the Bruins better every time. It's just like this cycle. They constantly just make the Bruins better and screw themselves over. I personally don't want anyone from the Leafs other than William Nylander. That's it.
There's two. It's the two Swedes. It's him and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Yeah. I would take either of those guys on this roster.
Somebody said you were wrong. I can't remember what their alternate suggestion was, but
about Ekman-Larsson or Nylander?
No, Ekman Larson. Somebody said I was wrong about Nylander, but
well, then look at us. Just a couple of wrong people who get paid to do this. Anyway.
All right. We've got a question from our good friend Mark C on Instagram. 2-part mailbag question. First, I saw a report of Binnington being on the block and being linked to the Habs. Why would we even want that hot bag of mess in our locker room? Clutch moments aside, why? Second part. I guess that question's answered.
Yeah,
Second part. Oh, are you guys excited for my Binnington rants during the Olympics? John Cooper better not start him, I swear to God.
You know what's going to be really funny, Laura? I thought about this earlier.
Yeah.
If he wins an Olympic gold, he's a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
It's going to make us all throw up. We're all going to be sick to our stomachs about it. But 4 nations, Stanley Cup, the Olympic gold medal, like he's got the hardware to go in. It's so annoying to think about. But he's like, he might even be a first ballot, which makes me so uncontrollably angry.
I know. All right. Next question again from Mark. Second part. Why do all the trade rumors now purportedly show a link to the Habs? The Habs amateur web writers are starting to sound like Leafs fans. Are we becoming the new Leafs? Habs fans can be annoying, but at least we used to always say, well, at least we aren't as bad as Leafs fans.
Yeah, that's always kind of existed. I'm gonna call it Locked On Canadiens law of trade rumors, which is that it needs big city or big market, warm city team that's actually interested, and that's what goes into these. Montreal is big market, so they're always going to, like, whenever people float these rumors out, that's gonna happen. People get really bent out of shape about that, huh? Like, oh, their names are in trade rumors. That's totally fake. Just like move. If it's fake, just move on. I don't know why you gotta. Like, it certainly doesn't bother me as much. In fact, we made a whole bit about making fun of them. You know, like, it's funny to go, this makes no sense. Why are we doing this?
I love it. All right, let's go back to Blue Sky. We've got a question from our good friend Robert Rice. Most likely player on the Canadiens to attend a comic or anime convention in full costume each year.
So I consider myself a pretty big nerd.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do any of that. So, like, this would have to be like an astronomical nerd.
Dobish.
I don't hate that answer.
Dobish.
I really don't. Like, the whole mattress ad made me think that this guy just does not care what people think at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of need a little bit of that to do a lot of that stuff. So Dobish. Although, real answer, Yuppie showed up at Montreal Comic-Con dressed as Mario. So that's the, that's our guy.
That does make sense. All right. Yeah. Question from Simon. If the Habs can't count on Struble or Xhekaj as an everyday D-man who can kill penalties, does that mean they need to start working Engstrom into the lineup more?
I think it couldn't hurt. I mean, I really think they need to look at Struble and Xhekaj over the break as potential penalty killers. Because neither of them are offering that much right now. And if you can't get it out of those guys, you're going to need to find it elsewhere. And then I kind of agree with that. Like, why wouldn't you want to see if Engstrom can at least provide better 5-on-5 minutes? I'm not even saying call up Engstrom and play him on the penalty kill, but the two guys that are here currently aren't providing valuable 5-on-5 minutes. So it's almost like, well, what are we doing? You need something out of that 6th spot. Right now, it's giving you virtually nothing. You got an assist from it on Wednesday against Winnipeg, but Arber Xhekaj, like, defensively has not been all that strong this year, and offensively he has 2 points. Like, that's just not good enough. So yes, I think eventually they'll be working some other guys into those spots.
36 Reinbacher wants to know which Canadiens veteran is most likely to be using the same jockstrap he was using in juniors. I know everyone is saying ew, but Sidney Crosby famously does this. So which Canadiens veteran is most likely to be using the same jockstrap he was using in juniors? Brendan
Josh
Gallagher.
Anderson. It's the same category of guy. I guess it's one of those guys is using the same stuff for sure.
A question from Scott. What is the funniest possible goal song you would pick for yourself in the NHL?
Scatman's World. I think that's really funny.
I just went with Benny Hill theme.
That's really good too.
It's like I would be like a Nick Suzuki type, like extremely competent, but that would be my goal song. Almost through. If you made the salary of an NHL player, where would you choose to spend your Olympic break? Mine is Bora Bora. No questions. No further questions.
At home.
At home.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
And then
the place I would go is Montreal, but if there's an Olympic break, I'm not seeing a hockey game. I ain't going there.
Yes.
I'm just gonna stay home.
So we had a question on TikTok, but I'm turning it into a segment for next week because it's going to be too long for us to fit into this. So our last question today comes from MacD Pete. How cranky is it going to make opposing fan bases when Habs fans start doing the wave at away games? I believe they already did it in Ottawa this year.
It's this last week. The Canadiens have caused two smaller market teams to have very sour responses after games. Rasmus Dahlin said, "I don't want to see this building that red ever again." And then Scott O'Neill from Winnipeg said he was really disappointed with the fact that he saw so many Canadiens jerseys in those arenas. It's gonna happen. In the Buffalo game, there were Dobish chants in the stands that you could audibly hear. There were Monty chants in the Winnipeg game. The wave is going to become a thing that shows up in a lot of these places. Would not surprise me if it happens at some point very, very, very quickly after the Canadiens come back.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for your mailbag questions. We're going to leave that there. Continue to send those in, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. We get to them over the course of the week or on Fridays when we open our mailbag. Also, keep sending in just fun fan stuff. We love giving you guys shout-outs. We love interacting with you guys and hearing from you. This is a really fun way to understand our community and be part of it. So thank you for sending that stuff in. All right. Let's hear our trivia and head out of here. This month, we are focusing on Black History Month for our trivia. This former NHLer's brother was the general manager of the Miami Dolphins up until this last season. Who is it, Laura?
It is Mike Grier.
It is Mike Grier. His brother, Chris Grier, was the general manager of the Miami Dolphins until he was let go from his position after the Dolphins had a very bad year. The answer was given to us correctly by Manny, Ralph Segredo, and Valkyrie Enes. What's that, 6 in a row? Valkyrie's just crushing them right now. All right. Today's question. The uncle of this former NHLer was the first African-American to be certified as master diver in the U.S. Navy and was the inspiration for the film Men of Honor starring Cuba Gooding Jr. One of the craziest sentences I think I've ever said in my entire life.
It's a really cool trivia question.
It's fascinating stuff. So I'll read it again. The uncle of this former NHLer was the first African-American to be certified as master diver in the U.S. Navy and was the inspiration for the film Men of Honor starring Cuba Gooding Jr. If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know any way you know how, and we will give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. And that is going to do it for us today and this week on Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for tuning in, for making us your first listen of the day, and for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you don't miss an episode. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the bell icon next to our account. It'll make sure that every time we post something, you get a notification about it. So it helps us make sure you are listening every day. If you do never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Canadiens ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You can find the show Locked On Canadiens everywhere we're posting things, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok primarily. Like I said, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com for our email. It's the best way to get in contact with us. We love hearing from you, so always reach out. We really look forward to getting those emails. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Active Stick. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys on Monday.